Welcome to the Traveling Professors. I'm Professor Bob.
And I'm Professor Sheri.
And together we are
the Traveling Professors.
Welcome to show number 80. Sheri and I today are going to take you on a walking tour of the volcano in the middle of the Caldera at Santorini. So technically speaking, we're going to be doing a cruise of the Caldera. And we're going to walk up the top of the volcano, and we will then go down into the hot springs area, and ultimately we end up at Oye to watch the sunset. So we hope you enjoy this cruise and walking tour. On our last day in Santorini, Sheri and I decided to do something unique. I found a cruise of the Caldera and a walking tour of the volcano. Now, what more fun can you have than getting a chance to walk on a volcano? And it lasted all the way to sunset. So we get the sunset cruise, a volcano, as well as food along the way. So here's the view of the volcano from our hotel room. And we're basically going to go almost all the way completely around it. So here's a little better view of the volcano. And it does have, a couple of hundred minor quakes. They have seismographs everywhere. And I was not aware of what kind of ship it was going to be. I thought, it's just going to be your regular motorboat. So then here's another shot looking out the other direction. You can see the rest of Fira, and you can see Oye, where we ultimately end up the end of the day. And then here's a little better shot. So we're going to end up right in this gap between these two pieces of the island to watch the sunset. Now, from an aerial view, let's take this picture of the whole island that I've shown you before. So we're going to go down to the port, which is right over here, get on our ship. Process goes like this. We will go down to the little mini port here at Fira. Then we will cross over to the volcano, walk around the volcano. Then we will go to this side right here, to the Hot Springs Harbor. Then we will go across to this part of the island and have dinner, which, by the way, was cooked on the ship by the crew. And then as the sun begins to set, we sail over to Oye, go up the coast, and park right out here and watch the sunset. And you'll also get an idea of how crowded Oye gets at this particular time of the day. So let's head down to the port. Sheri and I had no idea how many people would be on the cruise. I thought it could be just a few, but it could also be a large number of people. In the end, Sheri and I were just the only two people that were not part of a group. So it was a little group tour, but it wasn't a big tour. And they picked us up. They had a driver come and pick us up at the hotel. So we go down to the port and we see the ship sitting there. And of course, there's the ferry, one of the fast ferries that's leaving. And I thought, well, that's really cool. That's going to be our ship. Well, the guy says, no, that's not your ship. And he stayed with us for a little while. And then he said, now that's your ship. And so you see the three-masted ship heading our way. That's the Aphrodite. You'll see the website when we get to the end when we're looking at the sunsets. I got a shot of their advertising on their sail. So Sheri's really excited. A sailing ship, a real sailing ship. Obviously, it's motored at this particular point. So we went in, showed our ticket, brought us on board, and so we then took some pictures. So this is the area where you can go down below where we'll have dinner later on. And there is places you can sit to look out. But of course, we want to be up on the top deck so we can get the full experience of being in the Caldera. So that's where we stayed most of the time. Got a little sunburn too. And then the group showed up. So here's a shot of the back of the ship as we're sailing away from the port. So we get to go along the walls of the Caldera. So here we are looking up at Fira. You can see all sorts of just incredible geological formations, and you can see all the different levels of the ash and the different colors. And then we see some other private ships along the Caldera wall, and then of course the rest of Fira comes into view. And of course, this is the area where the mules would have come in, and where you have the cable car that comes up and down. And remember, in the old days, the only way you could get up was the mules, but now you have this great cable car. And here's a little closer shot of the mule run going up to the top of Fira. And then here we are at the port. We stopped for a little bit because a couple of more people in the tour group decided to get on here rather than get on with the rest of the group on the bus. And so now we're heading away from the little port area, looking at the couple of the restaurants and some other houses along the way, and then looking back as we're heading away. So now we're heading off to the volcano. Now here's our picture again of the aerial view, and I think it's a misconception to say that the little island in the middle that we're going to be walking up is the volcano, because the entire caldera is the volcano. This is just the top of it. This would be the equivalent of going to Mount Vesuvius and standing on the top part of it, looking into its crater area. That's where we're headed, but this whole ocean area is actually where the volcano goes down into the sea. So the volcano is, in theory, this whole thing. It's just, for example, if you look at Yellowstone National Park is a giant supervolcano. It has a huge caldera, but that caldera is Yellowstone Park. I think there were about 30 people in total on the ship, including crew. So here we are going towards the volcano. There's a cruise ship sitting waiting for their passengers. Here we are looking back at the cruise ship and to Fira, and looking ahead to our friendly volcano. Now, as you get closer to it, as you can see, the lava flows are pretty jagged here. In this picture, you can see where the lava flow stopped in some of the areas that did not have lava flow. And then we go around this area, and there is our little harbor. Kind of a scary little harbor here. Volcanic lava flow on one side. And so we have to put the Aphrodite right next to one of the other ships. Have to walk across those, and then once we land, we look up, and this is our path up to the volcano. Now, it's not really steep. There are some sections where it is steep, but the most difficult part of the whole climb is the loose lava, the loose pumice and sand and dirt, because you can't take a step, get a solid contact with your foot. Whereas when you start walking on it, then it slips out from underneath you. So it's kind of like walking on a slippery surface. Not everybody on the ship went on the walk up the volcano. It is approximately 500 feet high, 127 meters. And so we're just wandering along here, slipping and sliding through the dirt. They have rest spots in different areas. And then here is our crew guide. And so she would stop periodically and give us a little discussion. There have been over 100 eruptions in the last 400,000 years in this particular area. And the worst one was in 1650 BCE, which is called the Minoan eruption. And it put 30 cubic kilometers of debris into the air. And that's when the island was literally blown to pieces. Prior to that, you would have had a little mountain kind of in the middle like you see with Vesuvius. So we continue walking along, and then we come to a little spot here where they've got a place to sit with some shade over you. And it's at this point I thought we were going to have a disaster because Sheri has asthma, and it acts up on her if she overexerts herself. And she wasn't feeling very good at this particular point, so she decided that she would just wait here. She said I could go on. I wasn't really happy about that, but that's all I could do. So as we're walking up towards the top of the volcano, there's Sheri waving underneath the little umbrella. It's one of the steepest spots that we're at this particular point. But you can see as you get up to the plateau area, the view that you get from up here. And of course, the sun is setting, so it's to the back of us. And then here you get the first view of one of the craters. Now, of course, in volcanoes, you have all sorts of different openings, and this is one of the main ones at this particular point. And of course, as we started up this hill, you could smell the sulfur. This area right here, for example, you could feel the heat coming out. She said you could cook a hot dog on that in a few seconds. Be careful. They've got it very well roped off. So we walked all the way around the edge of that and looking down at it. And then here's one of the views. And then we finally got up a little bit higher. And fortunately, what happened is as we got up to the crater top and I started to take these panoramic pictures, Sheri arrived. They had another lady who didn't feel very well either, and the two of them just took their time and made it all the way up to the top. So I got it to a nice vantage point. So here's one shot. And then you see Fira along the side there, and then this is the region of the island where the port is located. And then this is the one that will then taper out into the sea where the lighthouse is located. And you'll see the little piles of rocks. It's considered good luck to make your little pile of rocks. Everybody puts their pile of rock up. Nice little view. And then all on the other side, this is where we're, little harbor over here is where we're going to be parked for dinner. And then here we have another one of the little volcanic islands on the other side. And then we climbed up to the absolute peak, and our guide took a picture of us. You can see Sheri with her big smile because she's happy that she got up here, and mine as well. We found out when she took our picture, she noticed our wedding bands matched, and she said, "Where'd you get those?" And we told her we bought them here on Santorini from the Greco brothers. And she laughed. She said, "Well, I bought my first set of rings from the Greco brothers, but that wedding didn't hold." About buying jewelry from the Greco brothers. And so on the way back down, there's again a shot of the crater. And now we're just heading back on a nice downward slope. That's a lot easier. The only thing you have to be careful of is you don't get moving along too fast, because that rock can slip out from underneath your feet pretty quickly. And then ultimately, here we go, getting now. You can see Oye back over here on the upper left-hand side of the picture. And notice the ships. There's a few more ships that have gathered in, but ours is the biggest, and they will eventually put the sails up. So now we're going to go around the island. We're up here in the middle, right here on the end. Now we're going to go around the spot right here where the hot springs area is. There's several of these where you can go swimming, but that's the one we're going to use. One of the things that you can see when you get around to the other side of the island and you're headed towards the hot springs and the sulfur springs, how the water changes color. And you can see the different type of geology. And then you come to the little spot. There's a little church there. You find these little churches just about everywhere. And we didn't have swimming suits, and I don't swim. So we just watched everybody. So not everybody went into the water and swam over to the little hot springs area. Swam around in there and messed around for 15, 20, 30 minutes. And here's some of the other boats that were parked there as well. The little two-masted ship's very cute over here. Meanwhile, they're prepping a dinner for us. They cooked it right on the ship. And then after we finished with the hot springs area, the ship went to the other little town across on the other part of the island. And that's where we ended up eating our dinner. So here is the area where the dining service was held, and this is our dinner, which was fish and rice and, of course, Greek salad. And it was very tasty, little wine. And then we had a nice little relaxing trip from where we're right here. And now we're going to go back across the other side of the island to where Oye is. And so we're going to come in right about here, one of the narrow spots. And then we'll go up the coast, and then we will watch the sunset from right here. So here we are back on top of the ship, relaxing as we're going from one side to the other. And we pull into this little area just bottom of the city of Oye, the top. And then looking back to what the sun is setting, see these dark rocks. Well, when you get close enough, this is what the dark rock looks like. And it's, again, another little chapel. Sometimes you'd have monks that would go here. Sometimes people just put a chapel up in Thanksgiving for surviving a disaster or something. But we have people who are using this platform to go jumping into the sea. So here we have what appears to be a cannonball in operation as they jump from that vantage point. Then we come around the side of this, and now we get to see Oye in all of its beautiful sunset glory. And you see the little harbor down here, which is much smaller, but you do have access up to the top of the city. And there's some view at the top, the whitewashed city. And then here on the side is where everybody is log jammed. Look at all the cars and buses jammed into this area so they could get a view of the sunset. It was amazing how many people were jammed in, and trying to get out of there is not exactly going to be easy, but I'm sure they have a system. And it's at this time that the crew put up the sails. So here's the sails, and it gives the website for the company. It's called calderasboats.com. And I think we paid $60, $65 a person for this trip. Well worth it. The crew was really fun. And then here's the sail with the Aphrodite name of the ship on it. And then, of course, they have the rigging. And there's a little closer shot of the rigging as we're sailing out a little bit further away so we can get a good shot of the sunset. Well, now we're just going to sit here and watch the sunset. Certain times of the year with volcanic eruptions around the world, and you have multicolored sunsets. But we just had a regular sunset, so you can see it gradually heading down into the horizon. There's another ship, another three-master, kind of went by us. Fortunately, it didn't have its sails up. And then it just gets a little lower and a little lower. Finally, it goes down, and it's time to head back. The day before, I'd actually taken a picture at sunset, and you can see the ships coming in from being out there watching the sunset. So this is what it would have looked like on our way back. And we came into the port where they dropped us off. And of course, everybody except Sheri and I got on a single bus. And so there's the crew and the two of us. And finally, this guy comes up and says, "I'm looking for these people." And they said, "Here they are." And we got into the cab and then headed back to the hotel. And it was funny because the cab driver gave us a survey to fill out in the darkness of the cab. But he had a little flashlight, so he gave us a flashlight. So we filled out this little form. And then when we get back to the hotel, this is our last night on Santorini. We're going to Mykonos next. I took this picture of the town, and it's probably about midnight by the time I took this picture. So here's the area on one side. We're just below our hotel. And then here's a nice picture of Fira all the way up to the other edge. So it's just absolutely gorgeous to stay on. There's plenty of things to do. We weren't actually, you wanted to party, you could party here as well. Sheri and I hope you enjoyed the tour. Please come by our YouTube channel at Bob Packett, and please subscribe and leave some comments. Thank you very much. I've been doing podcasting on history for over 15 years. I've got over 4,000 shows, and I've done CDs, which of course can be sent out as USBs. So if you would really like to get more on history for free, then come by my website, as you see here, historyaccordingtobob.com, and see what's there. So thank you very much again.